Welcome to Desperate Pace, the Warmachine and Hordes battle report channel. Potentially some hobby content as well if things go well in the future. I am James.
And I'm Mike.
So we wanted to bring you a report in the exciting time of the pre-Oblivion / post-Oblivion spoilers that we exist in right now.
So pumped.
Yes. On the day we recorded this, the new Satyxis and Living Pirates theme dropped for Cryx, and it's all I ever wanted. So we decided to record a game with that, and you ran Oracles, right?
Actually, Ravens of War. I have been so loving this new changes to Ravens of War for Legion, mainly because my boy Thagrosh, loves the fact that we can now jam more beasts and still get the theme benefits.
So the main advantage with this for Ravens is just the ability to jam beasts in there. It's more a result of the requisition function.
Yeah, absolutely. So before, it was the rewards were based off of units, but now it's just 75 points. You get 3 free requisition options, and that just means I can put all of my Neraphs in with Thagrosh too, as he loves.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that list on the table is horrifying, and now seeing you with even more that can go into it makes it even scarier. So we both were very excited to put these new themes on the table, and we also wanted to just take a little bit of a break from some Journeyman League games we were playing. Recently we started up a Journeyman League in Chicago, and it's been pretty successful so far.
Yeah, there's been a huge spike of people coming into the meta, and not only that, but other metas have grown kind of in the suburbs of Chicago as well because of this. But after playing so many games of trolls, I miss my blighted minions. So I'm really excited to get something beyond Speed 5 on the table.
Yeah. It's just been so long since I played Cryx. I've been playing a lot of Grimkin, and in the Journeyman League, I've been playing minions primarily, and it feels weird going back to focus. Anyway, so as far as lists go, Mike, why don't you bring me through your list that apparently I couldn't even identify the correct theme on.
Absolutely. So with Ravens of War, going Thagrosh 2, the Messiah. With the requisition options, so the first one I was thinking about was Harriers. So I went my normal package of 3 Neraphs, a Seraph. I was able to put Golab in too because he's in the Ravens of War theme now. And the first requisition option I took was the 2 free Harrier beasts. There's not a lot of shooting, which with the additional theme benefit of Harriers getting marked target, that's kind of the main reason why you would take it, right, for more shooting. But Thagrosh likes lesser beasts for a different reason. He has sack pawn, so he can throw off shots to a lesser beast, and just having that other, Manifest Destiny and the Harriers are affected by the feat, it's just good to have more beasts for free. Of course, took 2 Strider Deathstalkers in there just because stealth, 12-inch range, 7-inch movement. It's awesome. Plus, they kind of really interact well with Golab and the Rotwings. Kind of with that auto sniper damage, they're able to really kind of automatically turn on Finisher for Golab and the Rotwings. The Swamp Gobber Chef is really there because I have a lot of beasts and not a lot of Fury management. My hope is that the Gobber Chef can work with the Hellmouth to kind of feed Calamari to my beasts to take away that Fury. I do have a Forsaken in there for a little bit of Fury management plus a big burst if needed. 2 Blighted Nyss, Sorceress, and Hellions are the other 2 requisition options, and they're really key to the list because the Neraph is a very well-costed beast, efficiently costed beast at 12 points. It's awesome, but what really turns it on is the Manifest Destiny and the free charge from the Sorceress and Hellion. So having two of them lets me spread out a bit more. I have one Spell Martyr in there. I wanted to put more, but I just couldn't squeeze it in. But I have at least one, so I can threaten a Scourge, Knockdown, Assassination possibly. Followed by a minion or Rotwings, just for more kind of jamming units and to get a little bit of hit fixing with their Sitting Vulture for the -1 defense when base to base. And then, of course, two Hellmouths, because they're really underpowered, and so you really need two of them to to make them work. No, they're awesome, so I had to.
So, when you're describing that list to me, one of the big questions I have is, does Mark Target work for spells, or is it just ranged only?
Pretty sure it's just range attacks only.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, whereas you put a lot of thought in your list creation, I just got so giddy at the release of the combined themes. And I had kind of known about it for a while since Lock and Load, but didn't have the forethought to actually, like, list build based on that knowledge. So day of, threw all this stuff together. It kind of makes zero sense, but the blood wasn't in my head at the time. So I got Rahera at Lock and Load, so I wanted to put her on the table. All right, cool. We're going from there. Rahera has Manifest Destiny, relatively limited focus. She's focus 6, but she also has Escort. So instantly, 2 Stalkers are a must-take with her. I also put a Satyxis Blood Priestess on her, because free upkeeps are something that she will really, really need. Turn 1, you throw up that Escort, and you just rock it every turn. And then with that, I also had Kharybdis, Deathripper, and a Reaper. A Reaper with Escort is actually pretty scary as well, giving you a 16-inch threat range on the drag, which always feels like a prescient threat. Manifest Destiny also helps with the follow-up on the drag. And then on top of that, you also have the Gang Fighter bonus from... I can't remember if they're actually going with Slaughterfleet Raiders or Scourge of the Broken Coast, now that they've combined the two. But the theme gives Gang Fighter to all jacks, and Blood Witch is getting ambushed. So the Gang Fighter was a big deal to me. So 4 inches on Kharybdis is amazing. So I also took Axiara, because Tactician and her orders are pretty flexible. In addition to that, she's a POW 13 Weapon Master, which is always in good taste. And she's got a hand cannon, so, why not? Sever of Blacktide was my other free solo. And she's amazing at producing some range threat as well as some threat extension because of the Chain of Text Vortex, which is effectively like a 2/3 Hellmouth. And the spell, not your Hellmouths. So something that's balanced. And then right. With that, I took a unit of Black Ogre and Smog Belchers, Satyxis, mini unit of Satyxis Witches with the Blood Hag for ambushing and Dark Shroud fun, and a full unit of Satyxis Raiders with Sea Witch, because 2-inch reach, triggering Gang Fighter is amazing. And for free, I got my Shard Dirge Seers, because Eyeless Sight is a thing. Yeah, so, I mean, somewhat hastily put together, obviously Satyxis heavy, but that's okay because that helps me, as far as I'm concerned, get what I need out of the jacks. So that's my list, and I'm probably not sticking with it.
So I like the heavy amount of how do you pronounce that?
Satyxis.
Yes. Those Raiders, man, with the 2-inch reach on the flails are really strong. I totally underestimated them at the beginning, but especially with their ability to, what was it, like +2 defense against shooting? I mean, that's really awesome.
Yeah, so it's +2 defense and immunity to blast damage. So it puts them up to def 16 against ranged and makes it so you can't really take out Satyxis in mass. I really like it for keeping adjudicators at a safe distance, because if they get close enough to use their flamethrowers, the second wave can start feedbacking the caster. Yeah. So we should just jump into the video now, I think.
I think so.
And take a look at what we've got going on in terms of scenario.
So here we have the King of the Hill scenario. We have 2 rectangular zones spread way out. This is one of the new ones from Steamroller 2019. It's very interesting because those rectangular zones are right on the edge of the table. We have a circular zone in the middle with a flag right in the center, and then 2 objectives on the side. I went with the Observatory, one of the newer objectives, because I was looking for something to handle. He had a few stealth models. And then, what did you have again, James?
I had the Fortune one.
Right.
So the reroll 1 attack and 1 damage roll.
And then for terrain?
So at the very top, in the top zone, you'll see rubble. And then going clockwise, you'll see rubble towards the deployment zone, linear obstacle, wall, a trench, an acid pool, and a cloud, and right in the middle there is a forest. So with that, let's go through deployment.
So starting off here, my deployment, I was trying to stay central to start with. Going first is kind of tough. I'm not sure where he's going to deploy, how he's going to deploy, so I'm trying to just spread out, cover all my bases, evenly split up my 3 Neraphs, have Golab in the middle. I have Thagrosh off the side a little bit. My thought process was with his access to sprint, I wanted to be able to kind of get a charge lane, kill something, and then pop back with sprint. And yeah, so just kind of trying to keep everything centrally deployed. How about you?
Yeah, so I've got that big pile of rubble right in front of me. And with all your beasts, I know that you're going to be able to spread out and dodge in and out. So what I'm going to try to do is lean heavy on one side and make it so that I can put pressure on you and sort of limit your number of beasts advantage, and just pick 1 or 2 out at a time using the Reaper and the Belchers and the Satyxis to trigger gang. So I'm lining up the Satyxis way at the far end with the 2 Jacks at the left middle. Rahera is almost directly behind the wall there. The Smog Belchers are central to take care of the threat of your birds and anything that may be poking through on the forest over there. And the Blood Witches are going to wind up being in an ambush position.
Yeah, here I am measuring that ambush out right now. Looking at my Hellmouth options, I was trying to kind of keep them spread out initially, thinking that they'd be able to threaten those rectangular zones, constantly contest them, as well as the circular zone. But thinking about ambush, and I mean, they're Arm 18 Impervious Flesh, they probably would be fine, but I didn't want to risk it. So instead, I opt to just put them centrally. Put each of them kind of behind the forest. That still allows me to send a tentacle out to contest each of the 2 rectangular zones, while still having them on that central zone, so if I'm able to clear it, the Hellmouths would be able to score that zone.
And here I'm ADing the Stalkers, just putting 1 central and 1 in the main lane here to take care of any forward threats.
One mistake I did make here, initially I wanted to make sure I kept 1 tentacle back. The white Hellmouths I was going to buff with the Dragon's Blood +2 armor from Thagrosh. However, by not putting 1 back, that means that Thagrosh has to leave his deployment to cast a spell, which means I don't get to charge with Thagrosh. So instead you see me here moving him up and then casting the spell. That puts him 3 inches behind where I initially wanted him, but it ends up not making that big of a difference in the long run. I was able to slipstream using the Seraph's Animus to slipstream that Neraph up to get him a little bit closer. And I apparated up the Seraph. The Seraph is an awesome beast. It has apparition natively, it allows slipstream. It is 14 points, so if you're taking it just for slipstream alone, it's probably not worth it. But the fact that with Manifest Destiny, crit poison on the tail, it can still get up and do some melee damage if it needs to, especially with Thagrosh too. So I was just initially looking to see if I could get that Neraph in the trench, but because the objective was also in the trench, it prevented me from actually fitting him completely in the box there. Instead, I opt to move him out of line of sight behind the forest, trying to keep him safe from the smog belchers. Here, I'm trying to think about where I want my Neraph to end up in relation to the Sorceress and Hellion. Needing those free charges from the Sorceress and Hellion to really turn on the Neraphs. I'm trying to keep them somewhat tightly bunched to begin with, so that way they can spread out and do some damage. The Neraphs do threaten 11 inches naturally, and then 13 inches with Slipstream, so they have a good amount of threat. I can kind of keep them bunched up to begin with, and then let them spread out as needed. With James deploying more towards the bottom of the table there, I kind of was in a tough spot. Like you said, he definitely pulled me down, and I wanted to definitely put my beasts on this side, but I still wanted to meaningfully threaten scoring that top zone. So I kind of hem and haw and think about which beast I'm going to put in there. Initially, I was going to put the Seraph in there, because then he could get a good shot on some of his other guys with his gun, but I want that Seraph to be able to slipstream things as needed centrally. So instead I have to put a Neraph kind of out to the side there. I end up moving him completely out of control zone. But we all make mistakes there. I also bring a Harrier out there too, in case ambushers are able to kill the Neraph. And then I move Golab up as well behind the forest there. It's key that Golab is central for 2 reasons. One, again, he also threatens 13 inches, but he's really the main heavy hitter of this list, with Finisher being able to become POW 13-14 weapon masters. He really pumps out the damage. And the second reason is the Rotwings really benefit from the Golab's leadership, +1 to attack rolls. And so I want the Rotwing central, I want Golab central. The Neraphs can spread out a bit there. So here I am moving those Rotwings right now. Speed 7, gets them 14 inches down the field. The Smog Belchers there are a bit of a threat. They're definitely out of the range right now, but I completely forgot about drifting AoEs. So looking back, I probably would have spread these out a little bit more, but it is what it is. My thought was that I don't want them in the forest, because I want them to be able to spread out and kind of maybe swing around the forest, still getting those kind of charge lanes with that. Because with only a half-inch melee, they kind of need those charge lanes. Moving the Harrier and the Spell Martyr up on that side. I then moved the Deathstalker up here. Now, my thought was getting the Deathstalker in the trench as well. That would bump it up to def 19 against ranged. It is stealth, so it doesn't really need the cover, but I definitely want to see if I could get in there. Now, the fact that I moved the Neraph in there means he needs to walk around the Neraph, which proves to be a small issue here. Having the Deathstalker that far up is probably not needed either. Their speed 7, range 12 shot. He probably could have stayed much, much further back and still been effective, but I kind of got greedy with the raiders over there, being single wound infantry with Snapfire and being able to move 2 inches after a shot. really made me kind of get greedy with the Deathstalker. It turns out moving around the Neraph means he can't quite get in the trench. So he's still just sitting at Def 15 stealth, which isn't too terrible. Move the Hellion up to be within 8 inches of all the beasts, so they'll get a free charge on the next turn. I move the tentacles, and unfortunately I do move them away from all my beasts here. Looking back, I should always try and keep one tentacle near some of my beasts in case I can bring that Gobber chef up to kind of dump some fury. It doesn't really matter this turn, but I completely forgot about it, and I need to kind of keep going with that, especially for when they start running hot on fury. Gobber chef just moves up and gets into position, and completely forgot to move the Deathstalker and Hellion, so I just quickly flip it back and run those two up the top of the field there. And that is it for my turn 1. James?
Yeah, so I'm looking at this, and I hear this tiny voice in the back of my head that says, you shouldn't treat stalkers as throwaway pieces. And I told that voice to shut the fuck up. So now I'm measuring out, okay, can I get a stalker in and put some hurt on your Strider Deathstalker and the Harrier towards the objective on the bottom part of the board there. So I'm allocating focus. I think I give it 2 focus, or 1 focus rather, which gives me enough if I empty out Rahera to manifest destiny and escort. Then I'm hemming and hawing. Okay, what do I do towards the central part to make sure things start flooding in and getting that jam up I was hoping for by shifting the board down towards the bottom. So also looking at, okay, what can Rahera do kind of on her own? She does have a gun. It's a standard hand cannon. She's at 5. So there's always something that you can do. Sometimes it's not worth taking those shots. But with Hellmouths, I feel like if you have a chance at plinking away a tentacle here and there, it does really help put them behind. So I've got all these solos and stuff with the random guns, so plinking is always an option. Here I am going back to War Room. Like I said, I've never actually played Rahera before, and this is my first time with the new theme. So working out the interactions in my head on a clock. Kind of had my dunce cap on that nice bald head you see there. So yeah, more hemming and hawing. Clock management is always an issue with me. I had the same plan in my head for this entire time, and here I go executing it. Rahera activates first and is going to wind up going behind the wall there, and taking her shots, and hits the Hellmouth, rolls a 6. That's 18 altogether. That's exactly what I needed to kill it, because I think at that point they're arm 17, right?
17, yep.
Yeah, so it's off 5. Rolled the 6 on the damage from the 1 die. So cool. Getting the workout. Cast those spells. Now we move on to the Stalker. I don't know why I have the measuring tape out. I've already measured it 9 million times. Escort brings the total threat range of the Stalker up to 15 inches. So it's going to move the 9, pay 1 for the leap, and it's going to position itself quite nicely as a result of that leap. So that's 14 inches of non-linear movement that it's capable of in a single go. And then angling it so I don't get any pesky tentacles in the back. Or hopefully not, anyway. So here I go rolling. So the first attack is going to be on the Deathstalker. Manifest Destiny is going to help me hit with the Mat 7. Destroy some of my Satyxis. And then go ahead and that's when I'm like, here, can you hand me that dice box?
Metal dice and tall models.
Yeah. So there I go after the Harrier again. So some subpar damage. I think it was like 4 or 5 points. And then the second attack misses, rolling a 4 with Manifest Destiny. And I think it's Def 13, so off by 2 there. So now I'm going to go over towards the middle there. And so this is Severa Blacktide, who's going to go ahead and shoot the tentacle twice. Don't wound it. And then I get the vortex shot. So it hits. And so it's going to suck everything in and do a POW 12 within 2 inches of it. This was just trying to get some early vectors on the tentacles. Because like I said, early game, my biggest thing is trying to get rid of those as quickly as possible. These ones are only arm 15, so on 1 dice it's roll a 4 to do the damage there. And
that vortex, so sorry, just to point, so the vortex pulls everything in, but then the damage is only in the 2 inches, right?
It pulls everything in within 2 inches, then drops an AoE 3 on the target model, and then everything under the AoE takes a POW 12.
So one of those tentacles, or one of them was out, or something was out that you pulled in.
Yeah. And gotcha. And I killed the model, triggered run and gun, so she pops behind the wall there. So now we're activating the Satyxis, doing the whipping winds here, and I'm going to try to spread them out as much as possible. The idea here is to force some committing here, but limit the amount of Satyxis that he can get with committing. It's a little too tightly packed for what I was hoping to accomplish. And so you can see they're all within about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of each other. But all within the 8-inch range of keeping the commander behind the wall there. And then we've got the Blood Witch over there, also behind the wall. As Mike noted during the game, just really trying to get my money's worth out of that wall. This is where I'm going to be setting myself up. Putting the Reaper there, I want to threaten a drag on whatever I can, so keeping it protected behind the forest so nothing can charge it is pretty important, but within 8 inches so it can come around and drag something kind of wherever I want. And then I just use its hook to go ahead and kill a tentacle, because again, anytime you've got the opportunity to do it, you definitely should. Kharybdis is also going to be setting up for the next turn, because once something commits, I want he's going to have the 7, 11, 14-inch threat range, and then you've got the gang fighter there to help him out to an effective mat 9 POW strength 18 noodles. So yeah, just setting up here. Now I'm checking line of sight for to see if I can plink like some smog belchers or what it is. Or no, now I'm measuring to see what the melee range is on the maw there, because I want to get a stalker in to sort of jam up that center. Again, my main plan is making sure that center kind of becomes staggered and clumsy, so I can pick and choose my targets. And from here, just seeing if I can get the Stalker deep enough to get the Strider Deathstalker over there and in melee range of the Harrier. So I would kind of do the same thing on both flanks. But there's no way I can go deep enough to do that. So here, I'm hemming and hawing again, and just need to commit. This is a big problem of mine. Is I overthink and I think about what could go wrong or what will go wrong or, kind of whatever. But here I am back to my original plan after sinking probably 4.5 minutes of thinking of an alternative plan. So Stalker's going to jump on in there. And start making some attacks. So he only had 1 focus on him, which he had to spend for the leap. So he's got the 2 Manifest Destiny attacks. Here we go, attacking on the tentacle there. And taking the second one at it's a Neraph, right? The hammerhead one?
Yep.
Just to do some damage. So if I can get any damage on it, it makes a free strike that much worse. Because no matter what column it is, it's more potential to knock something out on his way out. And then I'm going to activate the Smog Belchers. I'm going to realize, I forgot to activate Oxiara to give them repo. And then Mike is going to be kind enough to let me do that. It makes it easy because she can kind of move whenever she would have wanted to because of Tactician. Since all of those are living, she can move through them. They can move through each other while within her 9-inch command range. So left some spaces between them so they can all just start throwing drift shots at the burbs. So I think it pretty consistently drifts 6 inches to the 2 on 3 of the shots.
Yeah, you got some pretty rough drifts on there.
We did some damage in the end to the Strider Deathstalker, but again, this goes to clock management. I wasted a lot of time engaging in this endeavor, and so you can see how much time it takes to grab the AoE, grab the measuring tape, center the AoE, move the measuring tape to follow that line. And I'm just rolling kind of for no reason, but you have to do damage rolls. So it's not like I can be like, oh, you know what, I didn't drift where I wanted to go, I'm not going to deal with the rolls here. So it hit everything of very little consequence until pretty much the last shot. And even on the last shot, I think I was 1 box shy of killing the Strider Deathstalker.
Yep. Yeah, I had 1 box left. And that was me at that moment realizing the Harrier and the Neraph were out of range. So my whole strategy of having Aggravator up and having them take a full advance up into their ranks didn't quite work because that only works when they're in control range.
Well, there you go. And I think I got 1 bird out of this whole thing. And for reference, I think it chewed up probably 3 minutes of clock or something like that. Now I'm fumbling around trying to find my AoEs.
I think we end up just using a 6-inch marker or something to show the where the front line of the cloud wall would be.
Yeah. So, because every time they shoot, they leave clouds. So that's also why there's a very specific order in which I have to shoot. Because otherwise you'll wind up blocking line of sight to your own dudes. So then also put the Deathripper up so it can run across the zone and just move the Dirge Seers up to give Eyeless Sight where needed next turn.
Yep. And onto my turn is when I realized that the Harrier and the Neraph are both out of control, so you do some frenzy checks. Harrier definitely frenzies. I think it's like threshold 6 or something. Charges into the Rotwing, boosted attack roll, boosted damage roll, just takes it out. So I think they're arm 11, arm 12 for the Harriers, the Rotwings. So one Rotwing dead because I can't measure 14 inches. Thankfully, the Neraph does not frenzy, but it's still sitting there with its one fury. I do quick apparition, moving the Seraph over. And here is where I remember how much I love Hellmouths. So I'm able to quickly measure 8 inches once I get my 8-inch stick back. And sure enough, pop a tentacle directly in the back arc of the Stalker.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when the rule wasn't completely within. It was just put it in formation.
Yep. So my thought is I can maybe pull the Stalker in and kill it with Thagrosh. But in order to do that, we gotta move some other pieces first. So I think the next thing I do here is, this is where I'm trying to see if I charge with Thagrosh, how far does he get? And then I start thinking about, how am I going to get him there? And I realize I need to do Slipstream in order to actually get him within the threat range of the Stalker. This is one of the first lists where I can really play with Thagrosh 2 with Sprint. So I'm really excited to try this out. Perhaps I'm maybe a little too excited. There's no reason for me to put my Warlock that far up, but I just want to see him get in there, punch something, and then dance back. So what I end up doing is I end up having the Seraph kind of take a weird route here. I forget what we're looking at right now. All right, yeah. So this is where I move the Hellion up, and initially my thought was, definitely going to do Wind Ravager, so no shooting within 8 inches. But then looking at his guns, they're all range 12, range 10, so having that 8-inch no shooting wasn't super consequential. So instead, I see those 3 statistics.
Just another statistic.
Another statistic lined up. The Raiders lined up in a nice line for the magic spray. And the Whipping Winds is +2 against range attacks, not magic sprays. So we end up throwing down. He's magic ability 7, so he needs 7s to hit. Was able to take out 1. If you notice, I forget to repo back into the forest here, which ends up being important later. So now this is where I activate the Hellmouth, I believe. Yep, so we're going to move one tentacle up into the Raiders, and the other tentacle is already in the back arc. Take a swing. I believe in the back arc it's like def 13, and I end up missing. But I am able to then hit the one Raider sitting there, so I take out another Raider, miss the Stalker, so I don't get to pull it in. So right here now is where the Seraph, now in order for the Seraph to activate Slipstream, it has to move sometime during its movement within 2 inches of its target. So I have it kind of take like a 3 inches forward into the towards Thagrosh, and then go 4 inches up, crossing over the Gobber chef, and still allowing Thagrosh to slipstream up. And that will also then put my Seraph kind of centrally located for the next turn if I need to slipstream anything forward. It also allows him to kind of apparate forward, so you can get into the forest and take some shots if need be. So after a little bit of measuring, we go ahead, move him in. One of the issues with this list is every model has wings, basically huge wings. So I'm leaving a proxy there to mark the Seraph. I go ahead with Slipstream, moving Thagrosh up 2. I'm about to end the Seraph's activation when I realize with the new rules, with Oblivion, shooting into melee, no longer, if you miss, you don't have to randomize. So I figure, why not? I spin up, get a few shots, and just try and maybe spike a shot into the, I think, def 19 Stalker that's sitting there.
Just a cool 19, yeah.
Yeah, just gotta roll like boxcars or something like that. Doesn't happen. Don't get any damage on it, but that was that. I'm up on clock a bit, so I figure, if I was able to get some damage with the Seraph, that would automatically turn on Finisher for the Rotwings. Then maybe the Rotwings could finish it. I wouldn't need to activate Golab to kill the Stalker. That doesn't end up happening, but that's okay. So this is where now I charge Thagrosh at the maximum 2 inches of the Stalker. Right there. And go ahead and start Wailing. Now, I cast Manifest Destiny, and I upkept Dragonblood, so he's only sitting on 3 Fury right now. And if I want to sprint, that means that I have to save 1 Fury to activate the Golab's Animus for Lightning Strike. So I really only have 2 Fury to spend on this endeavor. I think I boost one of the attacks, and then boost the last attack as well. No, not boosted. I'm able to hit the 8 unboosted that I needed and finish off the Stalker, letting me to sprint back. The cool point of order is that you don't need to actually cast Lightning Strike until you know whether or not you've killed something, because it's at the end of your activation you get to move back. You get to sprint. So I move Thagrosh a full 6 inches back, safely in that acid pool. And now I kind of really hyper-focused on the Raiders over to the right. I have my Neraphs in place, and I'm hoping to maybe get some damage with that. I just run the other Deathstalker up to go base with flag, so he has to come up to contest it, or otherwise I'll score. And I start moving Rotwings. I think I'm only able to get 1 Rotwing on the Stalker that's sitting there. The rest just kind of move up. I'm hoping to really kind of jam them up. Anything that survives the next turn is really going to jam up and kind of get base to base with it. And so I take a swing at the Stalker there. Now, point of order, since it's base to base, the Rotwings have the sitting Vulture thing, and so that brings the Stalker down to def 14.
I love the point of orders, man. Desperate Pace is the only parliamentary battle report.
Is that parliamentary? Point of order?
Point of order, sir.
Well, point of order on this next one. I don't even know what I'm doing now. Right. Right. I'm running the Neraph, or not running the Neraph. I'm advancing the Neraph because it was out of control range. So I just moved the Neraph over, and get a tentacle kind of touching the corner of that zone as well. I can't score it because the objective is there, so I need the Neraph to go ahead and kill the objective next turn and then score the zone. So the next thing then would be to for Golab to kill the Stalker. I'm able to do that, I think, just with the initials. He's mat 7, and with the Stalker being brought down to def 14 with the -1 from the Rotwing. With Manifest Destiny, hitting 7s is not really an issue. Although, I don't think I missed an attack this entire turn. Is that what you said?
It was damn close.
So I'm able to take out the Stalker pretty quickly. Finisher really helps with that after you get that first attack in. I think I opt to just leave Golab sitting there and not to sprint him too far. Just kind of going over to the left a bit there. Thinking that flank I'm going to be able to kind of come in and collapse in on those Smog Belchers next turn. So I bring the red Neraph in, start attacking 2 Raiders, and then they have sprint natively, so I'm able to just sprint them back behind the forest, and then the blue Stalker goes in, or blue Neraph goes in after it. One thing is that with this one, I try and make sure to get the two closest to it within 1 inch, but then there's a third I want to try and get within 2 inches. So I quickly go ahead, swing out. They're POW 13 with the tail, POW 15 with the hammerhead. So if I can hit, there is pretty much an auto kill. That one is within 2 inches, so I pay 1 for the Animus to pull it in 2 inches, a tractor, and then buy an attack onto it. That lets me get one more. And then I sprint back, blocking line of sight to my Warlock. I think all that's left then is, because I had feeded earlier, oh right, the Harrier has to move. I had feeded with Thagrosh, which gives me another movement and attack. My thought was, I really thought that wasn't going to quite go. I thought I was going to need a few more attacks to kill the Stalkers, or I was going to miss a few more on the Raiders. So I thought I was going to need to move and get some more attacks in. I end up instead, again, knowing that my Warlock is pretty safe, pretty far back, I opt to then try and save my beasts a bit from all the range shots. So I just go ahead and finish all my activations, and at the end of my turn, move them all to try and block line of sight with the forest. So since he is within 14 inches now, he can move in behind the forest. Harrier moves in behind the forest. And most notably, the blue Neraph also moves in behind the forest.
Or does it?
Or it does. It does. Don't worry. Now leaving a clear line shot directly to my Warlock. I really underestimated Battle Host on this one, so I'll turn it over to you, James.
Okay, so I see the C's part. I need to check myself to make sure I'm not Moses. And
I don't know why. I don't know why I moved all my beasts in the center. Again, my thought was I'll lump them all up in their 13-inch threat range, so they'll just explode out and kill everything next turn.
So to explain the salivation that's occurring here and constant finger chewing that's going on, what's going on is I measure here, and Thagrosh is about 14.5 inches away from a Reaper. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is a pretty dope turn. I lost a lot more than I thought I was going to lose, and had very few targets of opportunity that I could get to without significant repercussion. If I go for a standard turn, I could probably kill 2 beasts, maybe a third if things go very lucky with Rahera's feet. But you don't get opportunities like this very often. So the main idea is, and in my head, I'm thinking this Hellion casted the no shooting aura. So I'm like, this Hellion has to go. It just has to die, right? Because there's no way I could be outside 8 inches. Then there's another slight issue of the tentacles being right where I need to shoot from because of the 2-inch reach. And so in my head, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this? So I check the 3 inches through the forest. I've got it. I can see the Hellion there. And then see if I've got range to the Smog Belchers, who are range 12 and Rat 6. And, yep, definitely got that. So now I've got some aiming Rat 8 Smog Belchers that might be able to take care of my Hellion problem. So we're deciding how much focus needs to go places and what my backup plans are in case everything just kind of goes awry.
And I think you do ask to clarify. I do say no, he didn't do Wind Ravager, he did the Magic Spray. but because it's also 2-inch reach, I think it still needs to be killed before you can take that ranged hook shot anyway.
Right. Yeah. The only reason it still changes it is because for a while I was thinking about using Severa to now I've got a nice backup plan. If I can't kill her, I can use Severa to kind of pull her
I see.
Farther away to get out of that 2-inch melee range. So that proxy base you see there next to the tentacle is going to be the where the Reaper will be later in the turn. I measured the distance to... There's a tentacle in the middle of all those wings there. So right where you see my hand there's a tentacle. I'm seeing if I can see 3 inches through the forest. I can, but only at that far part. So now I'm going to see, okay, can I get Severa over there to do her little chain attack? The problem is that is not the one with the bonus armor. So 4+ will kill. I need both shots to hit but not kill. Okay, this doesn't feel so good. So again, more hemming and hawing. By this point, I'm probably at like 15 minutes left on my clock.
Yeah, about that.
I started the turn with like 20 something. So going through my head, developing the old Rube Goldberg machine. Jinx at the bottom there, distracting Mike very expertly.
Right, your hired distractions.
The minion, yes. So here's where the plan sort of solidifies in my head, the mustache twirling, and we've got the focus out and ready to go. You will note I forget to ambush my blood witches. So, missing 12 points of the list. But you know what? Don't need it. It was holding me back. Quick rules check, just to see what's going down. Because again, I haven't played a lot of these models. Another thing I didn't think about is I really could have set up a lot more and felt a lot better about things if I really understood the scope of what Rahera's feat could do. Because her feat, in case you don't know, she's a relatively new caster, is that models in Rahera's battle group in her control range and friendly living warrior models currently in her control range can immediately make one basic melee or ranged attacks. And these attacks must target enemy models currently in Rahera's control range. So what that means is when I go to cast Manifest Destiny, I can use her feat to immediately trigger just a metric, shit ton of attacks to help me clear things out. But instead, I'm just not thinking about it. So here I am activating the Smog Belchers and trying to shoot this Hellion over here. It's not going well. So I think I need 6s to hit. And as you can see, the deviations are plentiful. And I think I connect with 2 of them.
They're POW 6 blast damage, right?
Yeah.
So you would need to roll like 10s or higher
10, yeah,
to damage the beasts.
Yeah. So it's not super useful. So we get the Hellion down to my favorite 1-box state.
Yeah.
So for those keeping track at home, we've got 2 solos with 1 box on the field here. Now I'm checking charge lanes to see what the Satyxis can't do to bail me out of this situation. I've never been failed by Satyxis before. They're one of my favorite units, even though they look... a lot of Cryx players aren't huge fans of them. I don't know. They always work out great for me.
They've killed a Blightbringer in one of our previous games. I think a whole unit just took out. Yeah. They're
Yeah,
scary.
it's lucky for me. They overperform. So here I am. They get one of 3 abilities they can choose a turn. I take the one that gives Pathfinder, and so I can charge over the wall there. The new sculpts, the whips are metal, and the rest is very light plastic, so they fall over a lot. So anyway, everything is in gang. Get the UA on the Hellion. So Mat 9, effective POW 14, I think. Then the redirected charge attack at the tentacle, no damage. Then we go with the second charge against the tentacle, hits, dead. And the next one hits, and dead. Because those are going to be dice off 6. So 7's killed. Got pretty lucky there. So yeah, I'm like, man, dice are with me. Feeling good. Now figuring out what I need to do next. And I think I just activate Rahera, cast a Manifest Destiny, then activate the Reaper, move him up, take the shot. So boost the hit, boost the damage. The damage roll is absolutely cranked. And bring him in for the melee attack. Manifest Destiny hits. And do some more damage. Last die. I actually didn't need to roll the attack roll because it has sustained attack. But the drag shot would have run into a complication.
Yeah, so we learned later one of the kind of lesser used abilities of Thagrosh is that when he takes damage, he can spawn a lesser war beast anywhere completely within 3 inches. That includes directly in front of him, thus blocking the pull. We figured this out much after the game. Honestly, though, like there were other options, and putting my caster that far out there, I honestly thought he was safe. I was just thinking, I mean, Escort with the Reaper is just such a good combo. 16-inch threat on the pull is crazy large.
Yeah, I think, I mean, your list is obviously much more mobile than mine, and atypically so. But what it does is it does allow for playing far out and keeping your jacks and pairs, and basically choosing one opposing heavy to die a turn. Like, right. You get over here, I'm going to get you.
Yep. I think I made a major mistake of clumping way up in the center, especially on this scenario. I should have put 2 Nerafs on one side, Golab Neraph on the other, and kept Thagrosh smack dab in the middle. I got a little greedy with him, I think, and kind of brought him over to one edge to try and do some damage. I think just having him in the middle is threatening enough where he doesn't need to go out to kill something if he can threaten that.
Yeah, I mean, with somebody like Thagrosh, you definitely want to try to use them as much as possible and put that impact in there for no other reason than it's just fucking cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, he was a okay distance away because he can't keep him that far back. It's just when he moved all those beasts out from screening him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it opened it up. And, I really wish I had respected the effect that Rahera's feat could have had. I think I could have cleared a lot of the board. If I wanted to play a conventional game, I definitely had the ability to, set myself up a little bit better than what I did. I think both of us need to work on clock management.
Definitely.
I mean, that was bottom of 2, and both of us were probably combined had maybe 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
So when thinking about ways to mitigate clock management, we were spitballing different ideas.
Right. One thing I had been hearing about and about using timed turns and having like each turn set to like 10 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever it is, and really kind of sticking with that. That's one way to help, or just play with a shorter clock. Play rather than having an hour each, have 50 minutes each or 55 even to start with.
Yeah. I mean, like, that was a fun little strategy that I accidentally found way back when I was better on clock. Definitely got out of practice there, but both of those things sort of instill an attitude of at some point you've got to just start moving pieces and taking attacks. And I think one of the big things for both of us is we'll just overthink it. We don't want to lose anything. We don't want to have a suboptimal result to our movements. But as a consequence, we just hemorrhage clock.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, both of us played in a steamroller 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't feel good about my performance on clock. I don't know how you felt.
No, yeah, similarly. It was losing out to taking a 20-minute turn, trying to, with these high mobility pieces, there are so many different actions they can take. At one point you just need to pick one and go with it, and then react as to how the board changes.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's also a hidden advantage to speed, is that when you have speed and you apply that clock pressure, even if you made a suboptimal decision, you gave another choice to your opponent that may not necessarily be as clear-cut as you think it is in your head. Mm-hmm. And that's just another point for them to fall farther behind on clock. So, a little bit of a fuck it attitude can go a long way.
Yep.
But yeah, I kind of feel like that sums up most of the thoughts for that game. How about you? Do you have any additional insight?
No, just that, I don't know, I gotta stop getting Thagrosh killed. It had been a while. When I first started playing him, he would get assassinated like every game. It had been a while since I had him killed, so I need to definitely keep working on that.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to, just keep you honest with him.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited for Rahera. I'm really excited for the new themes. A lot of the, I'm a little concerned about taking away the in melee potential to hit your own models, because as we saw, it becomes a why not proposition. Mm-hmm. But it definitely does streamline rules and makes for cleaner gameplay. But yeah, other than that, I think it's about time to thank you all for tuning in and watching one of our battle reports. So as always, I'm James.
And I'm Mike.
And this was Desperate Pace. Thanks for watching.